Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Mari. I'm one of the librarians at Portland Public Library in Portland, Maine, and I'm here today to read The Year of the Rat by Grace Lin. Grace Lin has also created some illustrations for the inside of this book, which was published by Little Brown and Company. The Year of the Rat is the sequel to another book that we've read on this channel, The Year of the Dog. So if you haven't read that book, or you haven't listened to us read that book, I would recommend you go ahead and click over to that one first. But we'll go ahead and get started with the first section of The Year of the Rat. And here is a picture that says, "My family during the Year of the Rat." The Year of the Rat. "Happy Year of the Rat," Dad said as he toasted us with his glass. The clinking noise filled the air as the adults knocked glasses of wine against the kids' cups of juices. It was the eve of Chinese New Year, and my best friend Melody and her family had come for the celebration, just as they had for the last 2 years. Before Melody moved to upstate New York, I always celebrated Chinese New Year with just my family, me, Kiki, Lissy, Mom, and Dad, because we were the only Asian people in the area. But since Melody and her family were also Taiwanese, they came to celebrate New Year with us. As usual, the table was covered with food. Mom had to make enough food for 10 people. Melody also had 5 people in her family, 2 brothers and her parents, and leftovers. There always had to be food left over at a Chinese New Year dinner because that means you'll have more than enough for the year. So the platters of pork, yellow noodles, roasted duck, soft cotton white steamed buns, fried dumplings, delicate silver fish, and vegetables so shiny they looked polished crowded the table. There was barely enough room for our plates. "Ugh, Year of the Rat," Lissy said at the dining table. "I liked last year better, when it was Year of the Pig. I was lucky then." I rolled my eyes at Melody. She just gave me a small smile. I could tell that since her parents were here, and they were guests for dinner, she had to be polite. She couldn't make any rude faces like she normally would with me. But since it was my house, I didn't have to be polite. "Oink, oink," I snorted. "Lissy's a pig." "Pacey," Mom said in a way that meant behave. "You're not supposed to say anything rude or bad on the New Year," Melody's mom said, "or you'll bring bad things into the New Year." Well, that bothered me. I didn't want a whole year of bad luck just because I had said a couple of silly things. I quickly quieted down. "In America," Dad said, ignoring me, "rats are looked down on, but Chinese people actually admire rats." "Why?" Benji, Melody's younger brother, asked. "They think the rat is very smart and charming," Daddy said, "and he's first." "What do you mean first?" Kiki asked. "Do you know the story of why all the Chinese years are named after animals?" Mom said. Lissy and Felix nodded, but Kiki shook her head. "I remember a little," I said, "but I forgot." "Okay, I'll tell you again," Dad said. The story of the 12 animals of Chinese New Year, or how the rat was first. A long time ago, so long that you can't even imagine it, the Jade Emperor had a birthday. Since he was the Jade Emperor, the king of all the heavens, he invited the animals on the earth to come to a celebration. And he said to add to the festivities, it would be a race. The first 12 to arrive would win the prize of a year named after him. So of course all the animals wanted this honor, but separating the earth and the Jade Emperor's palace was a large and forceful river, with violent waves that rose and crashed over again like the pounding of a thunderous drum. All the animals worried about getting across. Many animals decided to train and prepare themselves for the event, like athletes before a marathon. One such animal was the cat. Every day he worked, strengthening his muscles, holding his breath, and trying to get used to the water. The night before the race, the cat put himself through vigorous exercises one last time. Exhausted, he went to bed, asking his friend the rat to wake him up in the morning in time to start the race. The rat agreed, but his mind was elsewhere. The rat knew that he was a poor swimmer, too weak and small to manage the river's waves. But he wanted to be an honored animal. He refused to get up, so all night he sat and thought and plotted. In the morning, the rat followed the strong water ox like a shadow. As soon as the race started, the rat made a flying leap onto the ox's back. The rat was so small and light that the muscular ox didn't even notice that he was there. And since the water ox was the best swimmer, he was easily leading the race. The powerful ox had no fear of the rough water he wallowed in every day. Even with the fierce waves fighting him, he moved forward undaunted. But as soon as the Jade Emperor's kingdom was within range, the rat gave another flying leap and was the first ashore. So the rat was rewarded by having the first year named after him. You can see a picture of the water ox with the rat on its head. The ox was second, then the tiger, then the rabbit, who had made it across by jumping from one river stone to the next, the flying dragon, who wasn't first because he stopped to make it rain for some people, the snake, who had wrapped himself around the horse's ankle and scared the snake when he slithered off, causing the horse to jump back, the horse and the sheep, the monkey, and the rooster, who had built a raft together, the dog, and then lastly the pig, who was late because he got hungry on the way and stopped to eat. And so the 12 years were named. And what about the cat? The rat forgot to wake him up in the morning, so he slept through the entire contest. That's why there is no year of the cat. That is also why whenever a cat sees a rat, it hisses and attacks. The cat has never forgiven the rat for not waking him up and making him miss the race. So the rat was the first of the 12 animals to finish the race, Dad finished, and that's why his year is first. So that means that Lissy has to wait 12 whole years again before it's her year. I said, I knew I shouldn't, but I couldn't resist annoying her. Ha ha. Yes, Mom said as she stood, and as you know, since the year of the rat is the first year of the next 12-year cycle, it symbolizes new beginnings. And that means changes, Melody's mom said. She gave her family a funny look I didn't understand. The year of the rat is the time to make a fresh start and to change things. Melody and I looked at each other. She had a weird look on her face. I felt confused. Changes? I liked the way things were right now. What was going to happen in the year of the rat? Chapter 2, New Year's Resolution. This year, Chinese New Year was on a Saturday, so we could stay up late. After dinner, we all gathered in the family room. As Dad made a warm fire in our fireplace, Kiki almost closed her eyes from sleepiness. Uh-oh, Lizzie said. Wake up, Kiki. You have to welcome in the new year. Yes, Melody said. We have to keep you up all night long. The longer you stay awake, the longer lives we'll have. Then you better do something to keep us awake, Melody said. Do something so we're not bored. Oh, you want us to entertain you, do you? Let's see, Dad said, laughing. I can sing do, re, mi. No, we all said together. How about if you all write down your New Year's resolutions, Dad said. You can think about what you want to accomplish in the new year. You're supposed to do that for the American New Year, Lissy objected, not the Chinese New Year. So, Dad said, we celebrate both. We can make up our own traditions. Even though it seemed a little bit like school, it didn't sound so bad. So I got paper and pencil for everyone. When we sat down and started to write, I grinned at Melody. I knew that the one thing that both of us really wanted for the new year was for Sam Mercer to like us. He was the cutest boy in our grade, but neither one of us was going to write that down. Pacey's resolution. 1. Write and draw another book just like I did before and be an author and illustrator. 2. See and ride a unicorn, though a white horse would be okay too. 3. Have lots of money and be rich. 4. Become famous. 5. Have good luck in everything. When Mom and Dad read my resolutions, they laughed. Well, those are very unusual resolutions, though I guess most people would like to share your last resolution. Americans write resolutions, Mom said. Chinese and Taiwanese people write wishes. I think some of the things on your list are more like wishes. Is there a big difference, I asked. Well, a resolution is something that you can try to accomplish, Mom said. For a wish to come true, it needs someone else to make it happen. Resolutions are better, Dad said. You're more powerful. You don't have to depend on anyone. A wish is left to fate, but a resolution is a change you make yourself. You can change your destiny with your resolution. I didn't really understand what Dad was talking about. Fate and destiny and resolutions. I did like the idea of being powerful, but I also did really like the idea of someone else making my wishes come true. That seemed a lot easier. I looked at Melody's list. Hers were a lot like mine, except for one. Melody's resolutions. Read 100 books, get good grades, win the lottery, be the luckiest person in the world, stay in New Hartford. Why did you write stay in New Hartford, I asked. New Hartford was the name of our town, the one we lived in now. Melody looked sad. I wasn't supposed to tell you because we aren't supposed to have sad feelings on New Year, she said, but my mom told me we might be moving. Moving? I said, you can't move. You just got here. I know, she said. I don't want to, but my dad's company wants to give him a job in California. California is on the other side of the country, I said. That's too far. You can't go. Well, my mom said maybe, Melody said. So maybe we won't. Let's hope for good luck. "Pacey, Melody," Mom said, calling us over. "It's almost midnight." Mom handed us funny hats and noisemakers, and we all watched the clock. But even though I blew and yelled when the clock hit 12, I was quiet and worried on the inside. Melody is my best friend. We did everything together. If she left, I would be the only Asian student in my elementary school except for Kiki. If Melody moved, everything would change. Chapter 3, Rats. Melody and I both went to the Oxford Road Elementary School. Our teacher, Mrs. Magon, was very strict about talking in class. She made Melody sit on the right side of the room and me on the left side because she said we talked too much when we sat next to each other. But on the Monday after Chinese New Year, we weren't sitting in the classroom, we were going on a field trip. Our class had been studying about the American Revolution, so everyone in our grade was going to a place called Fort Stanwix. It was a real fort that the soldiers had used during the war. We were all going to pretend that we were American soldiers and experience what it would have been like during the Revolutionary War. Our class had been preparing for this trip for a long time. We had to sew our haversacks, which were the bags that soldiers carried their things in. I wasn't happy with my haversack. Mom had given me an old pillowcase to make mine out of, so it had buttercup flowers sprinkled all over it. I thought it was ridiculous. What soldier would have a yellow flowered haversack? How to make a haversack. Fold the fabric so that there's extra on top. Sew the sides. Sew straps to the back with X stitches. Sew a button on the front. Fold the flap over and cut a slit for the button. We were going to eat like soldiers too, so we were going to make homemade stew over a fire. Everyone was assigned to bring an ingredient. I brought a turnip, while Melody brought an onion. She was kind of worried about the onion because the grocery store labeled it Spanish onion, and we didn't think the Revolutionary soldiers would get onion from Spain. But Mrs. Magon said it was okay. Before we went, Mrs. Magon divided us into ranks. There was going to be a sergeant, 2 corporals, and 2 cooks from each class. The rest of us would be privates. Miss Magon picked the names from a bowl. Melody was a corporal. I didn't get picked, so that means I was a private. Since Melody was a corporal, she had to walk in the front of the line when Mrs. Magon gave our marching orders to the bus. I walked in the back with my other friends, Becky and Charlotte. They were fun. Becky was the one who named Melody and me the Almost Twins, because we had so many things in common, like being the only Asians in school. Becky had curly brown hair, while Charlotte had pale waves like unbraided silk rope. Before Melody had moved, they had been my best friends. We were still friends now, but Melody was my best friend. 1, 2, 3, Becky whispered to me. Forward, march. This is so silly, Charlotte said. Revolutionary War soldiers wouldn't be getting on school buses. Yeah, I said. If we were Revolutionary War soldiers, we'd have to march all the way there. And stay there, Becky added. We'd have to eat there and sleep there in the dirt with the rats. Yuck. Rats aren't all that bad, I said, thinking about the year of the rat and Dad's story. What? Becky said. Both she and Charlotte looked at me as if I was crazy. No, I said, trying to explain. It's the year of the rat this year, and Chinese people don't think that rats are that bad. Ew, Charlotte said. Well, I'm glad I'm not Chinese then. I was embarrassed after that. I wish I'd just kept quiet. It was so hard to explain these things. Sometimes I felt like I was more than one person. At home, everyone called me Pacey, my Chinese name, and at school, everyone called me Grace, my American name. It was even more confusing because I wasn't even sure if I was Chinese. My parents came from Taiwan, which, because of some adult politics I didn't really understand, some people thought was a part of China. So some people called us Chinese, while other people called us Taiwanese. Times I wasn't sure which person I was supposed to be, Taiwanese Pacey or Chinese Pacey or American Grace. So I was glad when I saw Melody on the bus saving me a seat. Just seeing her wide grin and waving hand filled me with a comfortable, safe feeling, like opening up an umbrella in the rain. I knew she would understand. What would I do if Melody left? Chapter 4, Fort Stanwix. Here's a picture of Fort Stanwix and Fort Sergeant and a drum. From the outside, Fort Stanwix looked like a huge old wooden porcupine. It was made of weathered gray-brown wood with pointed logs sticking out of it. It was strange to see our bright yellow school buses parked in front of it, which somehow made the fort look even older and paler. As we got off the bus and got in our ranks, Melody had to go to the front again. A man dressed in a revolutionary uniform came out. "Welcome, new soldiers," he said to us, his words making misty clouds in the winter air. "I'm your first sergeant, in charge of your regiment. You've come to join our fight for independence from the British. While your days may be hard here, remember that we are what we are fighting for. Remember how Britain treats us like dogs, trying to force us to pay their taxes and house them. We must fight them and be free. Give us liberty or give us death. I looked at Becky and Charlotte. I wasn't sure if we were supposed to cheer when he said that. The first sergeant kept talking to us as if the Revolutionary War were happening right then, and we really were new enlisted soldiers. It was a little weird, but kind of fun too. The first sergeant told us that a drum would beat before all of our orders. There was a drum beat for everything: getting up, marching, and retreating. And there was an extra special drum beat for going to battle. That one was really important to remember because the enemy could come at any time. Then the first sergeant marched us around Fort Stanwix and showed us a different area. It was good that we marched so much because it was cold. I could feel the frosted air through my many layers, and the wind seemed to prick at my face as if needles were being thrown at me. I was glad when the drum beat for lunch. We went to the barracks for our stew. The rough ceiling was low, and the sleeping area was a platform near the ground, covered with coarse straw. And the stew didn't taste good either. It wasn't like any kind of stew that I had eaten before. It's kind of like soupy, cooked meat water with hard vegetables. The only thing I liked about it was that it was warm. Yuck, Melody said. She made a face at her stew. Poor soldiers. They had a hard life. I nodded, but I couldn't help thinking about what a hard life that I would have if Melody moved. I pushed my stew under the sleeping platform and drew a rat in the cold dirt with a stick. Have your parents decided if you're moving to California? I asked. I don't know yet, Melody said. My father's company wants to send him to California for a big promotion and transfer someone from their office in China here. They'd even pay for us to move, and the Chinese family would rent our house. Someone else would live in your house? I asked, horrified. I know, Melody said as she chewed the stew meat fiercely. Can you believe it? Someone else living in my house? Someone else living in my room? It's like the redcoats forcing the colonists to house them, I said. The enemy would be taking over your house. Yeah, Melody said, scowling at her stew. I hope the enemy stays far, far away. I hope so, too. Because deep down, when I thought about facing the year of the rat without Melody, my heart beat like the drum call of the first sergeant. I just hoped it wasn't the drum beat that warned that the enemy was coming. Chapter 5, Max's Birthday. This is Max, and we have Kiki and Lissy. I'd been so worried about Melody moving that I forgot we were going to Albany for my cousin Max's birthday. It was turning 1 year old. Albany was far away, but not so far that I got to miss school. 2 years ago, we had gone to my cousin Albert's birthday party in New Jersey and got to miss 2 days of school. Since cousin Max lived closer, we were only going to be away for the weekends. But even though Max didn't live that far away, it was nighttime when we got to his house. Actually, I don't remember getting to his house because I fell asleep in the car. When I woke up in the morning, I was in bed, and the sunlight was streaming through the windows, casting a lace pattern of shadow of branches on my face and pillow. Lissy and Kiki were beside me, snoring a musical duet. But it wasn't their snores that woke me, it was the doorbell ringing. I poked my head out of the room and heard the footsteps of a crowd of people answering the door. Kim, I heard Uncle Leo say. Jaba Bay? Jaba Bay means, have you eaten yet in Taiwanese? But it also means good to see you. And that meant that people were arriving for Max's party already. I went back to the room and shook Kiki and Lissy awake. Wake up, I told them. Max's party started already. They're starting the party downstairs without us. As we scrambled downstairs, we saw all our relatives. Everyone was there. Uncle Leo, Aunt Judy, 2-year-old Albert, and the house felt like a bulging bag of uncooked rice about to burst. Even Cousin Clifford was there. Cousin Clifford was our favorite cousin. He was older than us, but not a real adult yet. We hadn't seen him in a long time. The last time I saw him, he was graduating from college, with a black robe, a funny hat, and a big smile with sparkling eyes. Now he looked pretty much the same, except for not in a black robe. Did you start the party without us? Kiki demanded. No, Mom said and laughed. We're just getting everything ready. Look, even Max was waiting for you. He's just coming out now. When Auntie Sue brought Max out of his room, everyone clapped, and some of us yelled, Happy birthday! Max smiled, and his round face reminded me of a ripe peach, soft and pink and fuzzy. He was so cute, I couldn't help going up to him and hugging him. He felt squashy and lumpy, like a potato full of soft sand. Max wobbled with his arms out like a mummy, and his shoes thudded on the ground with each step. His shoes were funny. Grandma had sent them from Taiwan. They were bright green, the color of moss in the sun, with big eyes and pointed ears embroidered on them, with red, yellow, blue, and white thread. Max's cat shoes, I said. They're not cat shoes, Mom corrected me. They're tiger shoes. But he wasn't born in the year of the tiger, I said. I was. Did Grandma get mixed up? No, Mom said. Tigers are lucky for children. They protect them. The tigers on Max's shoes are protect him from hurting himself while he walks. That's why the tiger's eyes are so big, so they can look out for trouble. I don't think that they're helping, I said. I watched as Max stumbled over the edge of the rug. You don't know, Mom said, smiling. He might be doing a lot worse if he didn't have them. Since I was born in the year of the tiger, does that mean I'm lucky for myself, I asked. Mom said. Tigers are lucky for little children. I think that you're too old now for tiger luck. I think instead you are lucky for Max. You probably will be a very good babysitter. I liked being a good babysitter. I held Max's hands as he took one uneasy step after another, and he smiled at me as I walked him from room to room. When he was tired, I read him books and drew him pictures. I wanted to make sure that I kept practicing for my own books. Max liked the drawing, but all he did was scribble. The whole time I couldn't stop thinking about my own tiger luck. If tigers were only lucky for little children, did that mean that every year I got older I would get unluckier? When did I stop being lucky? When did it all change? Chapter 29. Happy birthday to you, Aunt Sue sang as we finished eating our lunch. We'd eaten pink and brown cold meats, dried jellyfish that looked like pieces of unraveled yellow rope, a thick white soup with black specks of pepper floating in it, a whole chicken roasted chestnut brown, vegetables that looked like they had been dipped in syrup, glazed shrimp, and shiny noodles. The noodles were extra long because they were long life birthday noodles. The longer they were, the longer the life they symbolized. I ate a lot of those noodles. I wasn't sure if that meant I'd have a long life, but I suspected that I'd have a fat one. I was completely full. But I did have room for dessert. Auntie Sue was bringing in the cake. Its frosting was smooth and white. Pink frosted roses, the color of a strawberry milkshake, decorated the four corners, and a single candle with a flickering orange flame stuck out from the center. We all began singing except for Uncle Phil, who was busy stopping Max from grabbing one of the frosted flowers. I was glad that Uncle Phil didn't let Max destroy the cake, even though it was his birthday. I wanted one of those flowers. Well, the cake was being served and eaten. Everyone started clapping and laughing. What's going on? Kiki asked. The fun is starting, Clifford told her. Uncle Leo has taken out the Destiny plate. The Destiny plate was the shiny black and red cover of an old tray. The actual plate wasn't important. It was what that we put on it that was useful for fortune telling. This was supposed to predict what Max's job was going to be in the future. We put all kinds of different things on the tray, and whatever he chose would tell us what he'd be when he grew up. We all watched with jokes and laughter as Leo held up the tray. What shall we put on the tray? He asked, his face wrinkling up in a smile. What do we want Max to be when he grows up? Uncle Leo collected items for everyone. Each thing symbolized a different job. He put a book on the tray to signify a teacher. He eagerly borrowed Uncle Shin's stethoscope to represent a doctor. He put a toy truck on the tray to stand for a mechanic, a paintbrush for an artist, and money for a businessman. He made Aunt Kim choose the shiniest coin in her pocketbook. I want them to catch Max's eye, he said, laughing. He can be our family millionaire. Even arranging the items was a big joke. Put the stethoscope closer to him, Uncle Shin called out. Move that paintbrush to the edge, Dad said. We don't want him to choose the cold door. What does that mean, the cold door? I asked. I was a little bothered because I had already decided that I was going to be a writer and an artist when I grew up. Now he was saying he didn't want Max to be one. When they're saying you choose the cold door, it means you're choosing the harder life, Clifford explained. The idea is that there's many doors you can choose to walk through, all being different kinds of lives. A lot of people think if you choose to become an artist, you're choosing a harder life. Poorer and shivering. You know how they always say that phrase, starving artists? So being an artist is a cold door. I didn't like that. I pictured myself opening a freezer door and being forced inside. It didn't seem that nice. Was that my destiny? What are you so worried about? Clifford said. I want to be an artist, I told him, but I don't want to walk through the cold door. Well, you have a long time to decide. I wouldn't worry about it. A lot of things can change before you have to choose, Clifford said as he grinned at me. Besides, any cold door you walk through is sure to be warmer than upstate New York in the winter. I laughed, even though I was still worried, but I tried not to think about it because Max's tray was finally ready. Every chosen item finally had a place everyone agreed on. Now it was up to Max. Auntie Sue wiped Max's hands with a clean napkin. She had let him grab the flowers off his own piece of cake, so his face was covered in pink and white frosting. We all watched as she moved Max's plate and put the destiny tray in front of him. Max, however, was watching his half-eaten cake. He let out a bawl, ignoring everything on the destiny tray, and reached out for the cake. Everyone laughed. Let him have the cake, and then maybe he will take something off the tray. So Auntie Sue let Max have his cake back, which he quickly smashed into his face. After he finished demolishing it, he looked in confusion at all of us staring at us. Pick something from the tray, Auntie Sue encouraged, tapping the tray so that the items clicked. With one chubby handful of cake, Max reached out and grabbed the stethoscope. A big cheer went up in the room. A doctor, Uncle Leo said. Max will be a doctor. I don't believe it, I told Clifford. Max didn't really choose the stethoscope first. He chose the cake. Maybe he'll be a baker. Maybe, Clifford said. But we're going to have to wait a long time before we find out who's right. Chapter 7, Clifford's Destiny. Speaking of destiny, Clifford announced as everyone was finishing their cake, I have something I want to tell you all. Everyone stopped eating and looked up. This was a change. Clifford never made speeches before. Well, Clifford said, taking a deep breath, you know how I've been working in Taiwan since I graduated from college? Well, I met a girl there and I've asked her to marry me, and she said yes. After that, no one could hear anything. Everyone roared with questions and laughter. Is she pretty? What does she do? Where is she now? When are you going to get married? Clifford had to hold his hand up like a teacher to make everyone listen to him. Her name is Lin, Clifford said. Right now she's in Taiwan, but she's coming here next week. When are you going to get married? Lissy asked. We're hoping this summer, Clifford said, after your school is over so that everyone can come. I really want everyone to meet her. Did you get her a diamond ring? Kiki asked. Yes, of course, Clifford said. A big one. So that now I am poor and I don't know when we can afford to get married. Get married at our house, I yelled. Then I can be a bridesmaid. Clifford just laughed as he was swallowed up in hugs from Aunt Kim and Auntie Sue. But I wasn't joking. I really wanted to be a bridesmaid. Then I could get a fancy dress and a bouquet. I've never had a real bouquet before. That was something I wouldn't have minded changing in the year of the rat. That's where we're going to end today. We're going to pick up tomorrow with Chapter 8, Melody's Fate. We've been reading Year of the Rat by Grace Lin, published by Little Brown and Company. My name is Sarah Mari. I'm one of the librarians at Portland Public Library in Portland, Maine. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you soon. Bye.